welcome to episode number 47 of the New Slang Podcast. I'm Thomas Mooney, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by singer-songwriter Josh Grider. Josh just released this excellent new album this past Friday called Good People. Most of you have probably heard the title cut of the record. It's had some really great success on the Texas radio charts, so you probably have heard Good People. The rest of the album is pretty much like that. It's really excellent. This past Friday, I met Josh at his motel room for this conversation about Good People, and we really talk about how he approached the record and how different it was of an experience versus his older albums and EPs and whatnot. And we talk a little bit about songwriting and the entire process of Good People, really. I say it towards the end of the conversation, but I'll say it again because I just think it's a really great description of how the album sounds. You know, a lot of really great albums have been made about the experiences and like the territory around hitting rock bottom. A lot of songwriters love to explore that dark territory. You know, like whether it's because of a busted relationship or a loss in your life or whatever. A lot of these songs really kind of like capture that tone and mood of really just being down and out. There's a lot of albums about that. There's a lot of really great songwriters who have written about that kind of stuff. And this record, though, is not really about that. Like the way I said it was, it's kind of like that step right after the fall. There's a lot of songs on this album that feel as though, like, you know, you're knocking the dust off and you're getting ready to move past whatever it was that really knocked you down a couple levels. And there's a lot of other songs on this record that I feel are songs that if you're in one of those bad spots, it's like some stuff that will get you going again and get you realizing that there is still goodness in the world and there's optimism, and you know, it's okay to be down and out every once in a while, but it's necessary to get past that. Anyways, it's been a minute since the last episode of the podcast, which if you haven't heard, that was with Jack Ingram and Bruce Robison. So go back and listen to that if you haven't. This past weekend, I recorded, I guess, 3 episodes in like 2 days. So there may be another one coming out this Friday. But regardless, there's a lot of really great guests that I have lined up for these next couple weeks. With that, there's also been a lot of stuff I've written over on Wide Open Country since the last podcast. There's a few lists about country duets and Ray Wiley Hubbard, Mark Chestnut, Jason Isbell, a few other pieces. You can check those all out at wideopencountry.com. These past few weeks I've been working on a few larger pieces that I'm really excited about getting out as well, so be on the lookout for them. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe and leave a review of the New Slang Podcast on iTunes. If you haven't yet, you should probably go ahead and just mention the podcast to all your friends who are, you know, obsessive about music as well. You can follow me on Twitter at _newslang for, you know, additional rambles and commentary, observations, and probably most importantly, like links to articles and albums and stuff. Okay, so I think that's about it. Again, go grab Josh's new album, Good People. I think it was like someone last week tweeted at me telling me to tell the folks that I interview to release their music on vinyl. Well, you can totally get Good People on vinyl. Go over to joshgrider.com. There should be some copies in the online store, or, you know, go to a show and grab a copy. So, okay, yeah. Here is the music conversation with Josh. Well, we're in your motel room right now, and I was thinking on the way over here, like, is this something like you can get used to ever, or like, are you able to get a good night's sleep in a motel room, or is it always just weird?
No, I sleep all right. I don't have like some people have sleep issues, you know, but I sleep pretty good. Um, Usually pretty tired on the road, or you've had an extra good time
Yeah.
late at night, and it helps the sleep. Mornings are tough because you know people are knocking around and making noise, and especially mornings when your record's coming out and your phone starts
Buzzing.
blowing up early. But with all good news, so uh, last night maybe didn't sleep that great, but by
Yeah.
and large, it's cool. I've slept in a lot of hotels. For a while, me and my wife had a really crappy bed, and I actually looked forward to hotel beds better than our bed. But now we got a really sweet bed at home, so
Yeah.
yeah, these hotel beds can't hold up to what we got at the house.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned you had this new record out today.
Out to date.
Yeah. Well, first off, congratulations. I know like those things are never as, I guess, like cleanly released as the public probably thinks they are.
Oh man.
It takes so much more time and.
Yeah, well, I mean, last weekend I think was the 365 days since I funded my Kickstarter because I crowdfunded the vast majority of this record, and so yeah, it took me right about a year of, we tracked all the band tracks in 2 days, and then 360 whatever other days were spent, singing vocals. I cut the vocals at the house. I mixed it with Adam Oder at Yellow Dog in Wimberley, so I was a lot of drives from New Braunfels to Wimberley, and me just wearing him out. Could you bump that just a little bit more? Man, I slept on that last night, and I think so I'm pretty sure the mixes are right back to where he originally gave me the very first time, and I had to just mess with him for months before, But it was really fun because I hadn't had that liberty to do that, or somebody as patient as Adam, or to have my hand in the recording as much to where I really knew where everything was. Like I'd recorded in the past and it was like the band did their thing and I was cutting vocals and a producer was like talking to me through the booth and I wasn't just like as much in the record, like the technical side of it. So it was really fun to do that. But
Yeah.
that also sort of made it take a really long time. But I was able to put a pretty good team together, and it's out. It's funny because I spent 365 days, and there's limitations on everything you do. This record was limited by, budgets, timelines, my imagination. I mean, it's just like these are just the songs that are the songs that I could come up with. But it's really liberating to me on release day because now it's no longer just on me. It's still on me to talk about the record, tour it, promote it, but now it's on all of us, I mean, I had my little 216 family of Kickstarters that helped me pay for it, and it couldn't happen without them, or it wouldn't happen the way it did without them. But now, it's everybody at large, you know what I mean? Like, we're posting, we're here on this chart, but if we go higher, that's totally, we're all in it together now, and that's it's not. It feels like a little bit of the load is off my shoulders, and I've transferred it a little bit. It's like, all right, cool. If you dig it, buy it, or stream it, or tweet about it, or just tell one person about it, or 10 people, or whatever. So that is definitely walking a little lighter in my shoes today.
Yeah. You mentioned Adam and like just having a little bit more of a, I guess, your fingerprint, your thumbprint on the pulse of it.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of. Did you watch that documentary about Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine?
Oh yeah.
Well, do you remember that part like where he's doing the? It's about Jimmy and like working with Springsteen, and he gets taken to the side and says like, "Your job here is to indulge me, so indulge me."
Yeah.
And like that's what it kind of reminded. Like what you said.
If I want to
like,
hear snare sounds if we're gonna spend 2 days getting a snare sound, that in the end won't matter. Just indulge me,
Yeah.
No, that's really cool that you mentioned that. Adam is a patient and beautiful man,
Yeah.
And I've known, and it's really great because Adam was the first guy. I mean, my very first, the Josh Grider Band, self-titled, first record I made out of college, on my own with my own name on it. I did it at Cedar Creek with John Silva and Adam Oder. I wanted I wanted the Adam Motors Cedar Creek Lloyd Maines trifecta, but I could only afford 2 of the 3. so I ended up with the Adam Motor Cedar Creek, you know, and John Silva was the assistant engineer. But that was my first, like, I mean, I don't know, just Adam's been a friend for a long time, so. And then he's mixed a couple things for me recently, like the You Dream I'll Drive, like the Broke Down thing he mixed. And I dig Yellow Dog, I dig what's going on out there. And, you know, like I said, everybody I worked with on this record, I mean, aside from like the band, I didn't have personal relationships with them, but, you know, the producer and, you know, Adam, and I just had these personal relationships that were way deeper than just this record, you know. So I think that really, I don't know if it translated, but it sure was nice for me because I could come to them as bros. It's not like I'm just handing you a check and you're just doing the service. It's like they were more vested in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had some more heart in it, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's like, okay. How have you approached record making and songwriting, being the fact that you're so many years into it now, that you're a lot more comfortable in, like, even though you're expanding your and challenging your songwriting ability and trying different things, still you're probably more familiar with and comfortable with who you are as a voice, as a songwriter, as a artist. Going into this record, like, how comfortable were you knowing what you wanted to do and being
more than I've ever been, like 100% to now. I mean, more than I've ever been, except maybe like the very first thing you do.
Yeah.
When you're just, you don't know any better, you know, and it's just reckless and it's just awesome and not that great, you know, but it's just all guts and it's all heart and it's all soul, and you haven't been told no, you know.
Yeah.
It's that, you know, that first band, that first love, that first thing, you know. And then it comes out and it doesn't do as well. And then you get in your head and you spend, you know, 15, 20 years trying to sort all that out. So, you know, the first record you make for passion, and then all of a sudden you gotta make it. Now there's an expectation. You gotta make another record. And even in the college band days. So then you start writing and you start writing for a record. And for most of my 20s, I would just write for a record. Like, oh, I got 10 songs written. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I called myself a songwriter, but I was not a songwriter. I was a guy who could write songs, you know what I mean? But I would just try to get a pile of songs together. And it wasn't like, well, we got 30 songs, we're going to pick the 10 best. It was like, yeah, we're just taking these 10 because these are the 10 we got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were honest and earnest attempts, and they were the best that I could muster at that point, and for what I knew as how to do it. But, you know, this was up through, you know, the Josh Carter band, the Josh Carter trio, kind of those days. And then I went to Nashville and had my mind absolutely blown by the songwriting community. And I really came in contact with and met and learned what songwriters are. And they are, and I knew Walt Wilkins, you know. Walt had produced it in my 2007 record, and Walt is a songwriter, but I didn't appreciate that part of him. He was more of an artist to me down here, you know. And I knew he'd written these songs, but like what a real writer does, the dedication to the craft, to get up every day and write something, really, really write, you know. And that blew my head off, you know. And I was very fortunate to get into a publishing situation that challenged me, that made me, that really opened my eyes to that. And so I started writing so much more. So then when record time would come, I had way more songs to choose from.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, oh, we just got these songs. Like, we got all these songs. Cool, let's find how certain things work together. And at this point, I'm signed to this little label, you know, and Trent Willman was producing, you know, the 2 things I did with them. And Tim Dubois is kind of the head of it all. And Tim Dubois, his history is so, I mean, you know, you could look him up if you're not familiar with the name as I say it. I know you are, but I'm just saying for people listening, like, he introduced Brooks to Dunn. He was an incredible record man, but he also wrote She Got the Gold Mine, I Got the Shaft. Like, he had this incredible manager. He was an incredible songwriter. Like, he just had this incredible music career. So he's kind of at the helm of this. So as I'm writing all these songs and Trent's producing and, you know, Scott Gunner's working A&R. There's all these influences.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not sitting there going, Josh, now you got to do this. But I'm a pretty empathetic person, you know, just to vibes and what things want, you know. So there was a controlling thing that happened.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, this is what we want to do long term, so we got to think about this and think about this, you know. And it just steers your thoughts. And like, nobody put a gun to my head to record any of those tunes that I did. And I'm proud of those records, and I stand by them. And I play those songs every night. But making that record on a label with that was a whole different way of making a record for me. So we did those.
Mm-hmm.
But for this project, I funded it. And it was the same process of looking back at a group of songs and picking the ones. But because I funded it, I just felt so free. Like they're just, like, I had 216 people, basically, that I had to either mail CDs or vinyl or do a house concert for, do whatever we are exchanging for. And then I just pick whatever the hell I liked. And I'm more at peace with who I am just as a person, because that's a function of age and growing up, you know. I told somebody the other day, this is the first record I've ever made that I owned a house while I was making the record. Like, just doing adulting sort of things, you know, like,
right.
And just that, like, it's a trivial thing, but that's a big thing. It's just a perspective shift that happens just in my life as a human outside of music, but it directly affects the songs, you know.
Yeah.
So I started picking these songs and finding these songs, and, you know, Good People really was an anchor for the record. Beep, beep. No, Good People was an anchor for the record, but I was able to build the thing just with my producer, and there was not that, well, gee, you know, Tim Dubois says I should cut this song, and I mean, look at all the success he's had, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, to be clear, I think I was, but just to be absolutely clear, this is not me saying the Nashville man made me do something.
Yeah.
It was not that at all. I signed up for everything I got into, and I valued their input and their advice, and I took it readily, you know. But there was no such team on the making of Good People, so we just did whatever we wanted to. I did whatever I wanted to.
Yeah. One of the things that, like, I think is a little bit foreign to a lot of the guys who never really go up to Nashville, never, for whatever reason, think there is this Texas-Nashville divide, is that whole writing for a record, I've got 10 songs, time to cut a record. I got 15 songs, time to cut a record.
Yeah.
While most of the people I know who have spent time in Nashville, they do buy into the, okay, I've got 30 songs to pick from, and let's make a record feel like a record versus just a collection of songs.
Yeah.
Like my buddy Ross Cooper, he's got a record coming out, I guess, next week.
Dude, I was with Ross last week, man. I love Ross.
And we were talking about it, and when he lived here, you know, that's what he talked about. You know, I'd write 12 songs and be like, okay, well, let's cut this record.
Yeah.
And moving up there was, for lack of a better term, like a culture shock for him. He had to be, you know, to raise his game up. And he said that, like, he was trying to, I think he said he was trying to write 100 songs before cutting this first record.
Yeah.
And he got to like 75, which is still a mind-blowing amount of songs. And like he, you know, said like a lot of them, you know, some of them were, I'm not going to cut this. But like getting to that number, even if it is just a number, is something to being able to narrow it down to 12 songs that fit. And I don't know, I think like that makes record making into record making.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, totally.
If
and I
that
mean,
makes
and it's so weird because in our Spotify and iTunes and single-driven culture, it's an art that is maybe underappreciated. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think, but with anything, like when those divides happen, there are those that could care absolutely nothing. That care less about it than more than ever. But you know, as is the sort of the theme of my record, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. There are people that care more about a full record than have ever cared before because they see the divide happening, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's it's a real thing, man, and it's so much easier to put a record together when you got the more songs you have to choose from, the easier it's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. How did you, when you have this collection of songs, how do you then start cutting down from 30 to, what's the record, 10, 11?
They kind of do it themselves for me.
You just kind of know?
You just kind of know. I mean, I wrote Good People, Bad Times Roll, and Sex and Alcohol. There, me and Bobby and James Slater were kind of having these kind of regular get-togethers, kind of in the late summer and kind of the back half of 2016, I guess. So Good People got written. Bobby did a demo. He's great, engineer. It was cool. It felt good. It was like, man, yeah, right on, And this is 2016, so like this is the election year. I mean, people are just at it. I mean, they're still at it, like
Yeah.
But I mean, just that. Oh man, it was grinding so hard. So it just felt like a nice little breath of fresh air. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna start playing this, because I write a lot of songs that I don't play, or I don't commit to memory or whatever, because they just don't feel like something that I would do from the stage. There's kind of your writer self and your artist self, I guess. But so I started playing that, and it was going cool. And I think then we wrote Bad Times Roll, and that felt really good. And it was like on hold for George Strait for a minute, so it just kind of had good juju around it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this song feels cool.
See, that makes sense right there, like even you saying George Strait, because when I was driving up here, when I got in my truck, Don Williams song came on.
Yeah.
And then I put your record on, and I was like, there's kind of a little bit of that slow rolling vibe to it.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
you know how like Don Williams just kind of at his own pace.
Totally, man.
Right? Like, everyone says Willie Nelson's on his own pace. Like, Don Williams was on his, like, slow rolling pace. And
I mean, honestly, like, with this record, I honestly think just sonically, from top to bottom, it is the most accurate reflection of just me as a dude. Like if I met you somewhere and we hung out and had beers or dinner, and you didn't even know I played music, and then Dina and I was like, oh yeah, I play music, here's my record. I think if you went and listened to the record, you'd be like, yeah, I totally just had dinner with this guy. Like, we're not jumping on there, and not at one time do I say, no, baby girl, don't done it again, or whatever, some of these lyrics that show up. I don't know, I just think it's a pretty honest snapshot. And I mean, I didn't know Don Williams, but yeah, man, you listen to Don Williams sing, it was like, it felt like you knew the dude,
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's when artists can be successful. Whether they really are that thing or not, if I believe it, it works. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Cody Johnson has exploded because every night that you watch him, it is just the realest deal. It's just so real. You don't have to be a rodeo, you don't have to be cowboy, you don't have to wear a cowboy hat. You're just like, whoa, that's the real deal. I'm watching something real. And man, in this mostest, bestest, like, fake world we live in, when you just hear something that you're just like, wow, I totally believe that. I pretty much feel like I'm getting lied to 90% of the time, but I totally believe that. And man, people gravitate toward that, I think.
Yeah. So, like, how did, you said it was, like, on hold for Strait. Like, how does like, that even get into his ear? Like, how does
well,
that
I have a
process
publishing
work?
deal, so
Yeah,
that's the whole
course,
thing, man. Like, you write them and turn them in, and then,
They just...
a plugger, Nashville, that's a job where their job is to study the sheets that the labels put out. This is who's recording, this is what they're looking for, this is what kind of song they're looking for, this is an artist,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was driving out, I remember I was on I-10, and they're like, listen to your little thing, it's like, George Strait's got Bad Times Roll on hold. What?
Yeah.
And it was he ended up only cutting like 2 brand new songs for that second greatest hits thing he did,
Yeah.
So, and I mean, but like, that's just crazy, because he's getting a lot of songs, and I don't even know if George even ever heard it, you know what I mean, but at least the label, somebody was like, hey, so, but yeah, that's what we're talking about. So, like, that song made me feel good, and then we wrote Sex and Alcohol, and I just loved what Sex and Alcohol said, because it was almost like the answer to Good People, or sort of it's not the opposite sentiment of Good People, but it's definitely, while I try to hold on to that hope and belief that there's good people, sometimes you're just overwhelmed. You're like, God help us all. I don't even know what is going on with everything,
Yeah.
So those three, and I mean, and all the credit to Bobby and James. Just we would sit, we would get together, have coffee, and visit. And Good People fell out because it was right after some horrible week of news. And I was just like, dude, I was talking about how the media stuff gets so blown up that they want you to think that you can't walk outside, and it's like, man, when I walk outside, I got good neighbors, I got good friends. I go to the grocery store, somebody holds the door. Like I see goodness everywhere. There's still good people, and as the great writers in Nashville do, they listen, and then when they hear something, they go, let's go write that.
Yeah.
So we went upstairs and wrote it. So those songs were feeling good, and it was just time to make a record. I'd seen, Edie, Adam Hood, Drew, American Aquarium, all these people having crowdfunding success, and specifically Kickstarter success, I think, with all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like, it was something that I had never considered because I'd sort of been on a label, records were getting paid for, that was awesome, But I also was learning the value of the business of owning your masters, especially in the streaming world, just business reasons. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it,
Mm-hmm.
And Drew and I are brothers, and so we had a serious talk, and I'd seen him succeed twice on it. I was like, I'm going to go for it,
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a swing. So we did, and then once that happened, then you kind of had the theme of the Good People, the real life thing. And I'd always loved Less and Less. I always thought that was a really strong song. And my first band is the oldest song on the record. I love that song. I've been playing that song in bands for a long time. Not necessarily the arrangement that we ended up on. And a woman kind of came, it really stood out as a love song that I really liked. Really, again, just an honest portrayal of, I mean, I've been married for almost 13 years, and we dated for like 3 years before that, so I've been very, very attached and very spoken for many years to a very patient, loving woman. So I loved that. The hymn. My grandmother passed away a couple years ago at 93. Lived a great life, 10 grandchildren and like 25 great-grandchildren, like just a big old family full of love. We all get along really pretty well. And I tried to sing that at her funeral and completely failed. So I was like, I'm going to cut this. And I'm going to actually sing it and not just be an emotional wreck when I do. And so, and that was the first outright spiritual song I'd done. And then, so we had the record, and it kind of had this thing, but I felt like it was missing a little bit. I wanted a Drew Kennedy co-write. We just hadn't written anything. He cut Open Road.
Yeah.
Because I love that song. But he just recorded first, and we just didn't have anything that really worked. So I'd always loved that. How Lucky Am I? I thought it was a great song. So I grabbed that. So that's the only outside song on there. Well, that and the hymn. And I mean, I'm trying to run them down. So so then we had this, and it was pretty. There was a serious tone to it. There's kind of some heavy, and I was like, I feel like we're missing. We're missing a really funky thing, because I love doing funky stuff. And just maybe something a little bit lighter. Just to lighten the mood. Not such. Good People's got that. It's got a light feel to it, but it's kind of a heavy subject matter. So Bobby and I had written Top of the Bottle, and we wrote it kind of like Daddy's come around, Mama's waiting. Overstreet, kind of an Overstreety kind of feel, just ain't no trouble at the top, like with a little train beat thing, It was kind of just, we just wrote it on guitars. And then months passed, and then Bobby found it, and he did a demo on it, so we could pitch it. And it was that greasy, funky, weird thing. I was like, dude, I love this. Like, I just listened to it like 100 times that day. I was like, we gotta cut this, man. So so we cut Top of the Bottle, just to lighten the thing a little bit, and just to get a different groove. We doubled the vocals on it. It's just a different thing. It's a little hey, and then that Local Honey song. I wrote half of it on an airplane, and I got my buddy Adam James in Nashville. We finished it, and I was like, I don't know, and it was just one of those ones where I just started playing it, and people were just laughing and like totally into it. And going like, what's that local honey thing? And I really learned this with like One Night Taco Stand, you know. People like to laugh, you know.
Yeah.
I like to laugh. I'm a cut up, you know, and sometimes people can take themselves too damn serious, you know. Like,
yeah. Well, like I mean, even Guy Clark had funny songs, right?
Roger Miller's my hero.
Yeah, there you go.
And I mean, that dude, some of his stuff was as wacky as it gets. And then he'd turn around and cut you to the soul with husbands and wives and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you know. So, again, it's just all that process of growing and maturing. But I definitely learned with One Night Taco Stand, hey, we're putting out a song like One Night Taco Stand, you know, you can still have a song like Pictures Do. Well, I didn't mention that song. That song was, you know, really standing out, live performances and stuff. I just love that song. But, yeah, you know, I sidetracked myself there, but I don't take myself very seriously day to day. I take my profession seriously, my family seriously, but man, I'm a self-deprecating. Just I like to have a good time. So I love local honey. Again, there's a lot of groove on this record. Fred Eltringham played the drums on all of it, and he's incredible. So that was just another groovy little. It just felt good to me, and that's what this record was about for me. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I just wasn't gonna overthink it. I mean, I tried to overthink it. Well, should I? Oh, is it too? Is it weird? No, man. But I'm playing it for people, and that's what this record is for. People, and people like it. So hey, let's put it on there because I like it too. It feels good.
Mm-hmm. One of the things on this record, you mentioned sex and alcohol. I thought that was like. Okay, so like, I'm gonna take you on this path, but I'll get back to this.
Yeah.
But like, I think like when like Ray Wiley Hubbard wrote Redneck Mother, he kind of like updated this idea of songwriting in that style where, in a lot of ways, it's just these little, quick little things, right? And it's not like a linear story. It's not real. It's just these little images, right? And then like Guy Clark kind of does that in a whole lot of things too. Like Too Much is kind of that way.
Yeah.
And you're able to tell a story even though you're not telling the story in the same senses as like Good People.
Right.
You can follow along with that. But there's this other way of songwriting where it's like you're just kind of throwing up little phrases and images that like just kind of stick. And like Hayes Carl has a whole bunch of that stuff too.
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of reminded me of, is this little bit of this like just throwing up Polaroid shots that kind of tell a story, but not like in the story sense that's, you know, your typical story.
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of reminded me of, is that little bit of a different way, a different approach.
Right.
You know.
And it's funny because you play it for people, you play it live, and I always introduce it and I'll say, this song's called Sex and Alcohol. Woo! Wow! You know, whatever, you know, or oh my gosh, you know,
Yeah.
the prudes look, you know, worried, and the drunks love it, or whatever. So, and yeah, it starts out with people are like, but that payoff of God Help Us All is just like, yeah, man, you may not identify with every line of this song, but there's one line in here that you're gonna go, oh yeah, that's me, or ooh, that's my boo, or that's this, or that's this, or that's that, you know.
Yeah.
And I love. I mean, I think that's a good observation about the song, but that's sort of happened a few times on this record, where it's like just the greater. I think part of it, honestly, is having kids has just made me more socially conscious and aware. I mean, I just think as an artist and a writer, you can just really live in your own head, and it's a fairly narcissistic and self-centered existence at times, you know?
Yeah.
But with kids, you know, you're like seeing stuff, and you're like, oh, like, you kind of know how you're going to deal with bad news or this or that, but you're like, oh my God, they're going to have to deal with this. Or they're going to have to deal with these, whatever, laws that are getting passed, you know, like this is impacting their lives. And they're going to look at me someday, like we look at our parents, and we're like, what were you guys thinking? You know, It's like, whoa, all this matters so much. So just again, like I said earlier, that perspective of getting older, seeing the world in these different ways, just inform some of these songs, you know, in just a bigger way. Whereas previously it would be like personal emotions, like, oh, I feel bad, I'm gonna do this or that, you know. But all of a sudden, the social issues just going on around were like so big and bigger to me than they ever had been, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an NPR junkie, I listen to a lot of NPR, you know, and like I said, you know, that was written in 2016. That was written before the election, you know, just leading up to it. And it was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
This world is crazy right now.
Yeah, I think like this last election, the 16 election, just was not. I feel like on one side it feels very representative of what America has turned out to be, but also at the other side I'm like, this isn't everyone. Like that's like a reality show, you know, and it maybe doesn't represent what the average American's like, but it's made especially I think like social media has made everyone into every argument is binary. You're either a one or a zero, and there's no middle ground, and it's made like the most ridiculous people most famous.
Yeah.
Which is probably not a good thing.
It's absurd. I mean, the things, I don't know, man. I mean, these are all the things that I wrestle with them daily and wrestled with them on this record. But it's like, you know, podcasts aren't good for visual, but, you know, if you look at, you know, say a yardstick, follow me here.
Yeah.
Say a yardstick is humanity. 3 inches of that yardstick, 5 and 6 inches. 3 feet is a yard, you know.
Yeah.
So of course you know that. Say 6 inches of that, that is politics, religion, sports, you know. There are things that people, music, they disagree on vehemently. They like to argue about it, tussle about it, you know. Like, no, I'm right, you're right. But the other 30 inches of that yardstick, we pretty much got that in common.
Yeah.
We're looking for somebody to love. We're looking for something cold to drink, or we're looking for somewhere to lay down and feel safe and feel sheltered. And man, yes, that Facebook, or, you know, just the social part of it capitalizes so much on that small part of this common existence that we have. And it's okay to disagree. I love getting in sports arguments with people. I love getting in an intelligent religious debate or political debate with someone where they can present their side and
A conversation.
Right? You know. Kennedy and I, again, you know, we ride up and down the road in his little Prius, and we will have a discussion, and sometimes we really vehemently agree with each other. We'll realize we're shouting at each other, and we're like, we're agreeing right now. Yeah, okay, cool, same page. But I enjoy that, and that's great. But what it has failed to let us know is like, man, that person you're yelling at on Facebook, 90% of your day was exactly like theirs on the meta scale, you know. And if they walked in this room right now, you'd say, hey man, how's it going? I'm Chuck. Nice to meet you. Cool. What are you into? Oh really? Oh man, I went there one time. Where are you from? Cool. Oh, I have my sister. You know, and you're civil and everything is fine.
Yeah.
But jeez, I know, man. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's the shit you say on Facebook, you would never tell that person in real life to their face, especially on Twitter. Twitter's probably worse. It's just like, but also it's one of those things where how are you in a conversation you can say basically everything about your opinion and make it calculated and make it sound a better it represents what you're trying to say.
Yes.
And I'm doing a bad job at it right now. But like on 140 characters, I guess it's 260
If this was a Facebook post, we'd know exactly what you were trying to say.
In 260 characters, you gotta like compromise on what you're trying to say, right? And you're trying to fit it into that little piece, and then you're gonna not have all the exceptions and the buts and and like there's always that. There's
all
always
the emojis in the world will not make up for a facial expression or the nuance of the way.
That's why you have to put like 4 emojis to capture that one thought you've had.
And it's not doing it. And it's just not doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the word, you know, the F word. That's just one of the most diverse words in the world. And if you just look at it, it's like, whew. And you can have all kinds of context and emojis or whatever around it, but even still, it's just jarring.
Yeah.
But in a conversation, somebody can just offhanded say it, and you're like, oh yeah, man, it's joking. Or somebody can look at you and say it, and you're like, whoa, this dude's pissed right now, or whatever, you know, like, nothing. There is no substitute for a little face-to-face conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And in all that, you'll get to know somebody by the way they carry themselves, by the things they say about where they're from or whatever. That you'll just have respect. You're like, cool. You know what, maybe I'm not talking about guns with this person because I don't think we agree based on some things that have been said. We'll just let that go.
Yeah.
Just civil discourse. I'm free to do what I'm free to do, and you're free to do what you're free to do, and that's fine.
Right.
You know. So I totally, I don't know if we're on one of my hand-wringing hot button issues that it drives me insane, man.
Yeah. We'll get back to the record. On that song Less and Less, there's a line in there. I'm probably going to mess it up, but there's like a line about I'm not like, what is it? I'm not better all the way or something like that, but I'm better.
I'm not all the way better, but I'm
not all
better
the way
than
better.
I've been.
Yeah. I feel like that is like such a first off, it captures the entire song, but like that captures such an emotional touchstone for people.
Yeah.
You know, where did that line originate from? Like, where did that come from?
Man, Bobby and I wrote that. I know we wrote it in December of maybe 2015. And I had the title, Less and Less, More and More, Less and Less. And I was afraid that I was stealing it. I was like, surely this has been written. Turns out it has. I think it was a Charlie Louvin song. Or no, I think Roger wrote it and the Louvin brothers cut it. I think it was something on the More and More, Less and Less. But then I thought, even more modern, I thought I was stealing from Bruce Robinson. Because he has the song More and More.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no Less and Less on it. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm not stealing from there. So anyway, we wrote it. And Bobby came out with that pinball and a coffee can. I was like, whoa. And it just like set the bar at me. He's like, okay, that's a killer metaphor. We're going to have to ride with. And then we wrote that chorus. I said the black smoke billowing thing. He's like, yeah. And I mean, it was really a fun session because we were just writing these really dense, really descriptive lines. And so we're back and forth, but that was in the second verse. And by then, kind of once it gets flowing, it sort of just becomes like a conversation. Like you'll say something, you know, and that thing. I'm gonna give dual credit on that line because I don't specifically remember saying it. I don't remember Bobby just saying, "This is it," you know. Because there's certain lines that you'll nail and you're like, yeah, that's my line, you know. And certain lines that you don't, you're like, that is totally somebody else's line, and all the credit to them. But yeah, it fell in a great spot in the song, you know, that highlight reel thing, and
yeah, like the highlight reel too. That's
yeah,
it's a really great one too.
Because we all lay down in bed, and your mind just starts to defrag from the day, you know, and all the way better than I've been. That's one of my favorite songs just to play and sing. It's really starting to take its shape with the band because I hadn't done a lot of band tours, so putting the band together has been really fun. To bring these songs with the road band, but I don't know. I wish I could take sole credit for that line, but I'm gonna say that it just by that late in the song, and often, like I said, as often happens, it just starts flowing like a conversation, and I would have never written it on my own. Bobby would have never written it on his own. It just was the fact that we had gotten that far in the song. We both knew where we were headed. The thing I will tell you about that song is it had a bridge that we didn't end up putting in, and I'm still on the fence as to whether we should have put the bridge in. So someday if you're ever at a show, ask me to play it with the bridge.
Yeah. what's funny about like bridges is like some people are just like Ray Wiley Hubbard's sternly against having a bridge, and then some people are like, well, songs need bridges.
Oh yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's one of those.
Somebody said if you're in commercial music and you want to make money, you better be writing bridges.
Yeah.
You know who the king of bridges is? We were talking about this in the van, and I had a chance to go see him in New Braunfels. Is Brian Adams. Killer bridges. I mean, you talk about just radio, huge commercial songs.
Yeah.
He's got bridges that change keys and fields, and they're 8 lines long. Like, just for point. If you want to go study how to write a bridge, because a lot of bridges are throwaway and they're BS, and I get why people don't like it. But I always like a bridge, a little scene change late in the song, you know.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, so many bridges are just this was part of a verse, and we need something here.
Little 2-line bridge. I also sort of pride myself in writing good bridges. Like I feel like I have, you know, I feel like I'm pretty good at like, let's sum up what we've just said, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the bridge I wrote for Less and Less it's like I'm standing in a tunnel and I'm looking at a light. I'm making my way out, but then sometimes it hits me. Like,
yeah.
I thought that was cool. I still don't know why we didn't do it. We should have done it. Record's out now, too late.
Yeah. You mentioned writing with Drew a whole lot. Obviously, you guys write. And he cut Open Road on his record.
Yeah.
So you guys wrote that together.
Yeah.
And that's such a obvious homage to Guy Clark in West Texas.
Yeah.
Like, what I always like about songs like that, and like John Bauman does this a whole lot, whenever you're able to put the person in a specific region or location, you guys really did that with that song. Obviously, like, you feel driving down I-10 or I-20, I guess it's I-23, Pecos and Monahans, but like, John always said, I talked with John about this, and he's always talked about how when he was writing songs like that, he would use Google all the time and be like, I got to make sure I've got this right. I need to make sure. What do you guys do? You guys fact check on stuff like that?
Well, this is a little known thing. Drew knows everything. So we call him Droogle. Like the Red River Gang, like when we ride and be like, Droogle it. And like 9 times out of 10, you just ask Drew something and he just knows it.
Yeah.
The he's brilliant. But, yeah, I will use Google. Yeah, I like to do that stuff. You know, just make sure you're right. You know, I had this song about a Camaro I was writing one time. I needed a rhyme, and I was trying to rhyme the engine size. I was like, well, we got to see what size engines came in Camaros in the 1960s, you know, and you just kind of go on these little fact-finding missions. But that's cool because, you know, listeners will hear it. They'll be like, dude, so this happened to me. Local Honey on the record, the second verse, it talks about, there's a line that says, I'd be your little worker if she wanted to be my queen.
Mm-hmm.
After I've cut the song, a beekeeper comes up to me at a show and he goes, you know all the worker bees are female. I was like, no! Really? He's like, yeah, the males are drones. It's like, oh man. Sticking with it, not going to change it.
Yeah.
Because then I wrote a second verse with drone in it, but it just didn't sound as cool as the worker one. So I kept it.
Yeah.
But that is not scientifically, or, you know, I did not do my research.
Well, see, like, if you use drone, I mean, like, it loses. There's so much loss between worker and drone.
That's not playful and fun. I'm your drone.
Exactly.
I will do what you program me. Oh, that's terrible robot voice. But yeah, like I read or heard Jimmy Webb talking about, by the time I get to Phoenix, people be like, I don't think you can technically drive from, you know, the journey the guy's making. He would have had been traveling this way. And it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you gotta let artistic license just, you know, what is it, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah. Well, I always feel that way with West Texas stuff. It's like, it has to feel genuine, and it has to feel, more importantly, this is probably bad, but it has to feel authentic for me.
Sure.
And there's some stuff that, especially like in movies, I'll be like,
oh yeah.
no. That can't happen.
Oh, the Texas has been, the Texas and the greater Southwest has been sorely visually misrepresented many times.
Yeah. Well, see, even like in the movie like Hell or High Water, which is a good movie, it's like, set in the West Texas, and I'm like, some of this, no, that wouldn't work out like that. Like, they're not, how fast are they fucking driving on these highways? But I digress. No Country for Old Men is the best West Texas version. And what I think like the most underrated aspect of that entire movie that they got right was that there's no soundtrack, no score. Yeah. Because like out in West Texas, it's just quiet.
It's so quiet.
And that's what they got right.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree that is a great representation.
Yeah. So like Open Road, like where did that come from? Like did you guys just have the idea of?
Oh, we started that in San Angelo. We had played at the House of Fifi Dubois, and Drew was like, "Man, we should let's write in the morning. We'll get up and write." I was like, "Cool." And so we got up, and I walked out. He was sitting with the guitar. It kind of had that title, and the idea. I just sat down, and we just kind of were kicking around those lines again, man. Just so dense and so much inner rhyme, and to just, it's the way Drew writes, and you probably hear a lot more Drew Kennedy in that song than you do Josh Grider, but that's okay. I was happy to be there and assist as it got delivered into the world, and, do some of the guitar picking, and we drove and just talked about, we had to leave and get to the next gig, and Drew is such a purist, he likes to write, so he's trying to drive and write on a notepad. It's West Texas. You can get away with such things, but it still made me the co-pilot a little nervous. It's like, dude, let me drive and you sit there and write. It's like, oh, you're right. Now I'll just stop writing. Then you get an idea and you get the notepad and you start writing again. So, Drew is enamored with the West and he's falling in love with it. And I mean, it's my home. I grew up in it. I'm from Las Cruces, so it's funny. Because it's a whole other world from where he grew up and what he'd seen, so it's just like, whoa, and it's really been fun to watch him fall in love with the West and be like, dude, this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I did know about that, but it just, like, it's just sort of how it was, you know what I mean? Like, you don't appreciate where you're from as much as seeing somebody else come into it and just be like, just so in love with it, and, it's just in me, and I obviously love it, but I'd probably be the same if I am the same when I go back east. I'm just like, oh, look at these buildings and these cities and all this green and water and rivers.
There's I guess it was a couple months back, he had posted a photo out in Iran, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like I remember that, and then I told him this little bit about how there used to be like a cartoonist who was from Iran that had like, this is back in the 50s, who had a cartoon, and there was like, it was about like a dinosaur and shit, and they had like this big dinosaur in Iran that was like a little bit of a roadside attraction kind of thing. And then like even outside Iran, between there and McCamey, are these old dinosaur tracks. Yeah. And I told him about that, and he was like, because I guess like it was a mural of a dinosaur, and it just reminded me of like, man, we went on a field trip one time out there just to see that, because that's what you have to do. Yeah. You said you kind of like it was a little bit more of a true song. And of course, like with you going up to Nashville and writing, where there's going to be songs that you don't necessarily cut, and they're for maybe a different kind of artist or whatever. Do you enjoy the challenge of taking that backseat and like writing in a different artistic voice?
Yeah.
Like what is
it? It's really fun, man. I mean, it's like you just get in. It's like being an actor. You know what I mean? It's just like, what role are you gonna play? Are you gonna be, the guy that's quiet and then you deliver the one-liner that gets the chuckle from the audience? Is this gonna be your soliloquy? Are you gonna be? Is this your moment? And you get in these 2s and 3s, and everybody just sort of. You have coffee and you feel out who, if it's the first time you've written with them. And then, of course, you establish relationships and you know kind of what you're getting into when you go to sit down with somebody. But, it's a blast, man, sometimes to write with, young aspiring artists, you know, and so you're just trying to take their voice and what they want to say and just help them kind of steer it into a form that works, you know, because they might not have that experience, but I don't know anything about what your 23-year-old female experience is. Just don't, so probably not going to have a lot of lyrical input here, but I'll help you arrange these lyrics and we can make it like this, or, you know, I'm not divorced, but if that's what we're going to write about, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to try to help you get there, you know. So it's super fun, and I mean, and it truly is like it's not about keeping score, and you'll kind of hang your hat on certain lines, you know, and maybe people you're close with go, that line's mine, you know, but it's really not even fair to do that because there's nothing saying. If you could have done it yourself, then why were you there? You would have. You know what I mean? You'd have written it before you left the house, or you'd have written it yesterday.
Yeah.
It existed because you got together with those other people and you shared that space and you bounced ideas off each other. Even if one dude wrote every word, even if all you did was get coffee, you know, you were there. And Tim Dubois told me, he said, Josh, sometimes the most important guy in the room is the one that goes, yes. You know, if somebody's on fire, just right, and they look up and they go, man, is this any good? Yes. Okay. And then they go back down right, and then you leave, and it's 50-50 because that's just, you know, that's how it works. And I mean, I've heard goofy stories of people parsing lines and trying. You wrote 20%, and I wrote that. You know, that's just BS. I've never encountered that. Anything I've ever done, whether I did all the lifting or none of it, it was an equal split with everybody that was in the room. And even if the thing doesn't get finished, and then I go write it with somebody else. Mm-hmm. That person that was there for the original, they get a share unless you really negotiate something.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it all evens out in the end. I mean,
I believe that
it has to.
In far more than songwriting, it's all going to even out in the end. So we can't sweat the little stuff too much.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to end it right there.
Feels
Thank
good
you
to
so
me.
much for starters doing this in the morning.
Dude, I love what you do. I was honored. I was hoping that we could get something down, record or not. But I'm happy that it all coincides with the record coming out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and this record is really, really great. Like I said, I do love the vibe of it. Like we're gonna probably talk in like 5 minutes now, but I do like the way the record, the vibe of the record. It's I was thinking about it last night, how often songwriters love to talk about the fall, the being down and out. In a lot of ways, this record is like the step right after that. It's like dusting yourself off and trying to see the good.
Man, yeah, man. It's. I hope that my hope that somebody might take from the record after listening is a little bit of hope. Mm-hmm. It's certainly not playing down. I mean, this is not a tailgates and pasture parties record where every day Saturday night we just drink and make out with hot chicks kind of record. You know, I mean, that is not what this record is. It's just I just wanted to make something just real, acknowledging that, hey man, every day in Christmas. But you'll get over it. You'll get through it. You'll get past it. You know, it's not something you can't get past, whether it's lost love or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And a reminder, to be grateful for what you got, because you got so much, man. Don't let your stupid social media make you think everybody else having more fun than you and everybody's life is better than yours, because you are entitled to enjoy the very moment that you are living in and enjoy the people that you are around. That is your God-given right. And these goofy little devices will trick you into thinking something is just not true. Looking at somebody else's highlight reel that they've curated and filtered and typed and then retyped and retyped. And I only say it because I know it, because I do it. You know, I mean, I'm just as guilty. But man, get off your screen. Live in the moment you're in, and just feel what you're in. These things, we allow ourselves to just disengage from what's happening around us so often. And man, That's scary. I don't like it, man.
Yeah.
I don't like it. We're all soon going to be sitting in those chairs from Idiocracy, and it's scary. But we don't have to. We don't have to. All you got to do is put it down. Like, it is. Just put it down. Just see what's out there. You can go on your phone and look at usage of apps for the past 24 hours and 7 days. It's built in. It's in your settings. Go look. Go look how much time you were on, whatever. And then ask yourself, how much time did I spend talking to my mom or whatever?
Right.
Somebody I love, face-to-face time.
Reading a book,
anything.
Yeah.
And let that information speak to you. You know what I mean? Let that information tell you something.
Yeah.
Be open to hearing what that is telling you, and adjust as you feel necessary. But here I go again. but the record, yes, it is. I like that. I had thought of it that way. It is. This ain't a down and out record. It's the one step past being down and out. And it kind of is, man. I mean, I was so many of my relationship songs, because I have been in a really stable and very lucky relationship for so long with a woman. My unrequited love of music and music business and the friction and the tension and the letdowns I've had, a lot of those emotions get channeled because I want to make it accessible and not make it a music business record. A lot of those, man, less and less. That's that call going, now we're not renewing any of those, or hey, this label's over. Oh, hey, yeah, we're not putting any more money into your record, there'll be more singles. We're done.
Yeah.
When your heart and soul is in a record, that's what it's called. So, man, it ain't selling, it's over. And still, I can get mad about why that happened. I can be right back there, but not as much as I used to. Time, you get over it. So, yeah, I think that's we buttoned it up so nicely when you opened that can of worms.
All right. Well, yeah. Again, thank you so much for joining me.